Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Minds and Money London, and it's time for a new virtual edition of Commodity TV, as we are the TV partner of Minds and Money. And Troilus Gold with the CEO Justin Reid is now with us. Hey, and good morning to Canada. How are you?
Good morning, Jochen. How are you?
Perfect. Thanks. Too much snow here, but it is what it is. And I just heard you had your first blizzard today in Toronto. Jesus Christ!
I was supposed to be with you in London, but obviously travel restrictions changed very quickly. So they tried to make us the same, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me. But thank God we have systems like Webinar Jam or Zoom or whatever people are using, and this is why we still can do this together here. So, Troilus Gold. Can you give us in 3-4 sentences what a company is about? As it's the first time that you are with Troilus Gold on our channel.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for having us. Troilus is a fairly new company, 3 years old. We bought the past producing Troilus mine from First Quantum. Historically produced 2 million ounces of gold and 70,000 tons of copper. In 3 short years, we've drilled 250,000 meters. We've defined a resource of over 8.1 million ounces and growing. We have $55 million in the bank. We have over 58 global institutions on our registry, including the government of Quebec through Investment Quebec. Feasibility will be out next year, and I will be able to show you a mine with a 20-year open pit producing 250,000 ounces a year in northern Quebec, one of the best jurisdictions. So that's more than 8 sentences. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. You answered all my questions, but that is fine. No problem. No, it looks like I went through your website and through your presentation. It looks like that you guys really put together something outstanding here. And before we talk a little bit more about PEAs and upcoming PFS, etc., one thing catched also my interest here. It's the ESG leadership, and you are Ecologo certified. What does that exactly mean?
When we formed the company 3 years ago, and you and I in previous lives have talked about this, we identified when we formed the company, before ESG was the thing to talk about, we identified the importance that it was going to have. So I put a full team led by Catherine Stretch in charge of that, and Jacqueline LaRue, our environmental engineer. And Ecologo certification is a government-sponsored and mandated set of guidelines. It's a third-party advisory, which essentially defines best practices. It's one of the many standards for ESG in the world. It's the one Canada's using. And as such, we invested a lot of money and time early, and we were the first company in Canada to receive our Ecologo certification. We won the Sustainability Award at the AMQs last year, beating great companies like Agnico, Osisko, Yamana, Wesdome, and so we have a full ESG committee on our board. We've made it a focus. Our sustainability report has been filed, one of the first in our industry. And at the end of the day, when I have 58 global institutions, if you do not have leading ESG practices, you're not going to have institutional investment. And it's not only about money, it's also about doing the absolute right thing. And that's what we're doing. And luckily, we've been a leader in that and continue to be.
Super. Yeah, I mean, respecting the environment these days, I think, is one of the #1 tasks you have, but also the local people, the, let's say, call it Aborigines or natives, if you want to talk, name it like that. I think this is super important, because only when you have all stakeholders are happy, then you can have long-term success. As I saw, you have a PEA out. You said already 22 years mine life, production 246,000 ounces per year. What is the capex and what should be the AISC on the one hand, and on the other hand, I saw you want to bring out an updated resource and PFS next year. Is that correct?
Yeah, our PEA, which is a preliminary economic assessment, we put it out August of last year, so 16 months ago. And it was a 22-year mine life, which was 14 years open pit and then transitioning underground. We have $350 million US of upgraded and in place infrastructure, tailings, roads, power, substation, earthworks. So we were able to build that mine for about $350 million US. Now, we've had a lot of capital creep over the last 16 months. As well, Troilus has had a huge amount of success drilling. In the last 16 months, we've drilled another 150,000 meters. We've expanded our southwest zone almost 3 times. So when our pre-feasibility comes out next year, you're going to see a little bit of cost inflation, just like everything else. You know, the CapEx won't be 350. It'll probably be low 400s, but I think everybody's expecting that. I'm not giving away the farm here. But more importantly, it's only going to be an open pit. We're going to have we have enough resource, and our new resource that will come out, our last resource was 8.1 million ounces equivalent. Expect significant growth beyond that, enough to sustain a very long life open pit at 35,000 tons a day. And we're starting at 35,000 tons a day simply because of the power infrastructure that we have to save money. But yeah, it'll produce between 220 to 250,000 ounces of gold a year, and with copper, we'll be over 300,000 ounces equivalent, and we'll also be the largest copper mine in Quebec.
Wow. Okay. So that means copper is a significant byproduct, of course, reducing your AISC. Where do you see, I know it's not finally really determined, but where do you see the AISC in the gold equivalent space after copper credits?
About $850 an ounce. Wow. Which in this market is plus or minus $1,000 margin, which is spectacular. 35% of the gold will come out in gravity. We'll produce doré at site. The rest will report to a copper gold concentrate, which we will most likely send to either the Horn smelter or to Europe.
Okay, super. I saw also you have some high-grade zones, and you did some major technical advancements. Can you please comment on this, please?
Yeah, Troilus, when it was in operation for 14 years, between 1996 and 2010, always had positive grade reconciliation at the mill. And they never really figured out why. Early on, just by going back to first principles, we identified a later cross-cutting zone of brittle deformation across the whole belt. And that's where the high grade is associated with. We've drilled 7 meters of 20 grams. We've drilled 25 meters of 4. Regionally, we found channels now running hundreds of meters up to 5-ounce gold, all associated with these east-west structures. And so this is a major advancement. And as we're drilling out the deposit, which is a low-grade bulk tonnage deposit like Malartic, like Detour, like Young-Davidson, we're now able to map and identify these higher-grade zones. And as such, as we move towards a mine plan, we're going to be able to focus on higher grade early, hence expediting your payback, really increasing your NPV and your IRR. So I don't want to say that Troilus is going to be a high grade mine. It's not, but certainly the high grade zones associated with the copper, which is going to account for about 15 to 20% of our revenue in this market, which is not a bad thing. The current copper market looks to be very buoyant for a long time. Is certainly going to help drive the economics of this deposit.
Definitely. And I mean, the most important thing is not that you are high grade or not. The most important thing is high margins.
Exactly.
Because finally, at the end, we all want to make money, right?
Well, and that's the benefit of Quebec. We get power at 3.2 cents a kilowatt hour.
Wow.
It's the cheapest power in the world. It's hydro, and it's green, and it's zero carbon. Back to your ESG as well.
Exactly. And as you said already, you have so many institutions as shareholders. And I saw also the Quebec government invested $11.1 million in you. So I think this is not like a subsidy. They are convinced that this will be a fantastic mine.
Quebec is an amazing place to work because of the participation of the government. You still have to have a great asset. Investissement Quebec Fonds Solitaire de Quebec, and the case. The three largest Quebec-based institutions are three of my four largest shareholders. Investment Quebec completed 6 months of due diligence, technical, environmental, and ministerial. And ministerial is your social side, jobs, taxation, impact to the north, impact to all of our stakeholders in the First Nations. And so for us, it was really a seal of approval, because this is the same government that's going to give us our permits. As well, Investment Quebec is incredibly, and the case, put their money where their mouth is. This was their initial investment. We're now, even though we're at the pre-feasibility level, working with them towards full project financing. And when you're backstopped by the government, you have a very high rate of success.
Oh, definitely. That is for sure. You just touched on it. Permits. What is the status there?
We have an active mining lease. We have a fully permitted tailings facility, 6.5 square kilometers. We are changing the mine format and technically how we're going to approach it. So we are completing a full EIA, but we are a brownfield site. So the analogy I like to use to our shareholders is we're not starting from scratch. We're starting kind of halfway around the racetrack. As such, we are federally permitting now. Provincially, we will start permitting in Q1 of very shortly, in a couple months. It's almost 2022. And we expect the permitting is going to take 12 to 14 months. Jacqueline Leroux, who leads our team, has successfully permitted over 5 mines in Quebec. We work with the government every day because we have an active tailings. So we are inspected every 3 months. We have a very close working relationship now. Permitting is never easy anywhere in the world. You know that as much as any of us. I think as we are a disturbed brownfield site with an active lease, we're in a very good position.
Absolutely fantastic. Last question. You have said $55 million in the bank. That sounds extremely healthy to me. Is that enough to go through the PFS and FS probably? Meaning, is that enough to bring you to the project finance status?
Yes.
Very clear answer.
We raised when the Quebec government, when Investment Quebec came in, we raised that capital at a 25% premium to market. We raised a $42 million bought deal a month before that, which is all institutionally held. Now we have 4 drills going. We're drilling 12,000 meters a month right now. We are the second largest drill program in Quebec, behind Osisko and Windfall. It's tough to compete with those guys.
That's right.
But with that said, we have a large team of engineers. Everybody's in house. Everybody's focused on Troilus, and we're burning about $2.2 million a month, maybe a little more depending on the drills. But we're in great shape.
Super. Perfect. Well, super. Thank you very much for this insight. That sounds really great for me, and I have a good feeling that we talk quite soon. And I would say we look forward to 2022 because the PFS is the biggest thing for you with the new resource estimate, right?
I think with the new resource, which will define one of the largest resources in Canada, and the pre-feasibility, talking about incredibly robust, long life project of scale. Right? Super. There are not many assets that produce over 200,000 ounces a year, and I'm certain we're going to talk again shortly. So thank you for your time.
Super. Thank you very much, Justin. All the best. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Mines and Money London Commodity TV for you in the virtual edition, and you heard it. Justin Reid, the CEO of Troilus Gold, said it. One of the real top projects here in Canada, in Quebec, over 50,000 ounces per year production is planned in the future. The PEA status is there. They are working on the PFS and the resource estimate. Over 8 million ounces of resources are already there, plus of ounces equivalent, I should say. So that means gold and copper. And what I really like is the $850 AIC, because finally everything is about margins, and that will be a high margin mine in the future for 22 years actually. So also not to forget to mention the ESG leadership with the Eco Logo certification. I think this is also something which is really, really important. They do everything right with the environment, with the people, for all stakeholders. This is how mining should be. Stay tuned, check out this wonderful company. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.